MMA Boxing Talk here. This is a prediction video for UFC 217 taking place this weekend. Um, of course, you can tell by the thumbnail, Cody Garbrandt versus TJ Dillashaw. I mean, to me, that's the real main event. I think it's the best fight on the card, of course. It's the fight I'm most excited for. I think it'll be the fight of the night. Um, and I also I think it's one of the best fights the UFC can put together. Period. Out of any division, it's one of the best fights that can be made. So these are two pound for pound fighters. I mean, let's not forget T.J. Dillashaw was number 4 on the pound for pound list. Only a year or about 2 years ago, he was number 4 on the pound for pound list. So high level fight here. But I'll get to that in a minute. So I'm only going to make predictions for the last 4 fights, the main 4 fights of the night, all tremendous fights. So starting off with Wonderboy versus Masvidal, I love this matchup. We're getting Masvidal. Wonderboy Masvidal is a great matchup because they're both strikers, um, both stand-up guys. Stand-up is where they feel comfortable. Of course, you got Wonderboy, who's one of the best kickboxers of all time, who's had a lot of success in the UFC, but hit kind of a roadblock against Tyron Woodley. It was a little too passive, a little too timid against Woodley, and I mean, it's easy to say he should have just stepped on the gas and put a lot of pressure on Woodley and went for the finish, but when you're in there with a guy as explosive as Tyron Woodley, it's easier said than done. And Woodley caught him a couple times, but Masvidal, and I mean I say just explosiveness in his hands and his takedowns. So I mean Wonderboy had a lot to worry about with a guy like Tyron Woodley. You might get knocked out, or you might get taken down, and maybe ground and pound. You know that could really be a problem. But in this fight, Masvidal doesn't really have the threat of the takedown. He has good. When people say he has good wrestling, it's more takedown defense. His wrestling defense, But to go out and get a takedown, he's not so good at that, and that's really not his forte or what he does. So Wonderboy is going to feel a lot more comfortable on the feet, and of course, as much as I love Masvidal, he's a great striker, has great boxing, better boxing than Woodley. He's not as explosive and doesn't have as much power. So I think we're going to see Wonderboy at his best. We're going to see him a lot more comfortable. We're going to see him a lot more exciting in this fight. Masvidal is a tough guy to finish. So I don't see in 3 rounds Wonderboy finishing Masvidal. If he does, that would be a real huge statement. But I see Wonderboy winning a 3-round unanimous decision over Jorge Masvidal. That's my prediction. I got Wonderboy. Going to be a great fight. And then, of course, we have Joanna Champion versus Rose Namajunas. Great fight. Rose is a solid competitor, very well rounded. She's still very young. She's had some great wins. I don't want to take anything away from her. The only problem is she's fighting, the queen, the ruler of the strawweight division. Joanna Jacek is one of the best female fighters in MMA history. She's a legend already, and she has so much experience, especially with her kickboxing days. She has more fights than Rose has in MMA, plus all the kickboxing experience or Muay Thai, whatever you want to call it. And I was looking at the stats, and sometimes the stats, you can't really take a lot from them. But I was just looking at the UFC website, and they have all the stats of the fighters, who are fighting, and Rose and Joanna was more impressive, had better numbers and statistics in every single category over Rose. So, with that experience, with Joanna, her footwork, her striking, her timing, her patience, all these things, her accuracy, and I just think it'll be too much for Rose, who's a great fighter. but people are right when they say, she's a little bit. It's a couple years too soon, this fight, and Joanna's at her peak. She's at her best. It's gonna be a very, very tough fight for Rose, but Rose is very tough. She's very resilient. So I don't know if Joanna stops Rose. To be honest, I think it'll be a 5-round unanimous decision. I could maybe see Rose winning one round. That's what I'd give her. I don't see her winning more than one round. If she can win 2 rounds, I'd be impressed with Rose. She'll have her moments here and there, but to win full rounds against Joanna is going to be very difficult. And her takedown isn't necessarily very strong, despite she has great jiu-jitsu and stuff. Joanna has great takedown defense, so she'll be tough to take down if Rose goes for the takedown. But I got Joanna 5-round unanimous decision. Great, great fight. Really looking forward to seeing Joanna and Jacek tie Ronda Rousey's title defense record for female fighters in the UFC. And of course, I hope she breaks the record and gets 7 title defenses. She'd be number 1 in that category in the history books. And I just prefer someone like Joanna and Jacek to have that record over Ronda Rousey. I think for the hardcore fans, 95% of the hardcore fans are going to agree with me that they enjoy Joanna and Jacek more than Ronda Rousey, especially her style, the way she fights. Very, very entertaining in the octagon. But enough about that. The co-main event of the night, the fight of the night, the fight I'm looking forward to most is Cody Garbrandt versus TJ Dillashaw. I cannot wait for this fight. I've been waiting for it for a very long time. Even in the days when Cody Garbrandt was fighting Thomas Almeida, I would always look and then think, wow, I know they're teammates or whatever, but TJ versus Cody would be such an amazing fight. And I just thought, someday, maybe down the line, they'll fight. But that would be such an amazing fight. And, of course, after Cody Garbrandt dismantled Dominic Cruz and won a unanimous decision against him, it even, amplified, and I just wanted to see that fight that much more, because then it was like proof that Cody really can go out there and beat a guy like Dillashaw. And because if you can do that to Cruz, and I know MMA math doesn't work, but it was such an impressive performance. Obviously, Garbrandt is going to compete with Dillashaw and have a chance to beat him. So that's what, with that performance, it really impressed me. And Dillashaw's been impressive. But I do think Garbrandt's ceiling is a lot higher. He still isn't peaked yet, where I do believe TJ Dillashaw has peaked as a fighter. I do believe we've seen the best of TJ Dillashaw. Doesn't mean he can't win this fight, though. Oh, I got to be clear about that. I think it'll be a difficult fight for both guys. But to be quite honest, I do favor Cody Garbrandt in this fight. And I mean, TJ Dillashaw is a tremendous fighter. He's got great footwork. He mixes his punches and kicks up, blends them together really, really well. He's a tough guy. He's got great cardio, high volume, all these things. Like he's a great, great fighter, great accuracy. But I just feel that when it comes to Cody Garbrandt, he has that power factor. That he has that knockout, game-changing, fight altering power. And Garbrandt, that's really going to come in handy in this fight, because there will be times in the first couple rounds where there will be exchanges, and when Garbrandt lands, it's going to really shake up Dillashaw, and it's going to really change and might mess up his game plan and things like that. When it comes to guys at this high level, something like ridiculous knockout power is a really, really big key, and I would say that Garbrandt's boxing is better. Of course, Dillashaw might have better kicks. I would say. I think he doesn't telegraph them quite as much, but when it comes to straight boxing, I would say Garbrandt has better hands. I think they're a little bit quicker too. I mean, it might not appear quicker, but I think they land and they get to the opponent quicker. I think that a little bit tighter, a little bit crisper, and of course he has the more power, and that's going to be a huge factor um, in this fight. So really interesting fight. But I do see Garbrandt winning this fight, and I see him stopping T.J. Dillashaw in the third or fourth round. I'm not sure. I'm gonna go with the fourth round. I think Garbrandt will stop Dillashaw, but it'll be a great fight up until that point. I just don't see. I just don't see Dillashaw getting past the power of Garbrandt. Garbrandt's gonna land at one point. At a certain point, he's gonna land on him, and I think TJ's gonna be in trouble. I mean, but these guys have sparred before. They know what they're getting themselves into. I'm sure both guys have improved since then. But I mean, it makes for a very interesting fight. But I gotta go with Cody Garbrandt in this fight because of his better boxing and more power. That's just my opinion. So the main event, Bisping versus George St-Pierre, GSP. It's the return of GSP. This is huge. So I'm really looking forward to this fight. I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about this fight, and so do I. I just think that, GSP taking off 4 years is a long time. And Bisping, he might be an older guy. I mean, I think he's 38. But, at the end of the day, he's been very active. He's never looked better. He's peaked as a fighter at a very old age, but he is at his best right now. And, George St. Pierre's never fought anyone that big. And I know size doesn't mean everything, but Bisping's also a good boxer. He's a good kickboxer. He's got tremendous cardio. He doesn't get tired. He's very resilient, very tough. So I don't see GSP going out there and finishing Michael Bisping. He would really have to catch Bisping with an improbable, kick to the head or something like that to really hurt him. But GSP definitely has his hands full in this fight. And I'm Canadian and I like GSP just naturally. But, I'm not going to just pick GSP just because I'm Canadian. I think GSP definitely has his hands full in this fight. I think that, he'll be able to take Bisping down, maybe. How many times throughout the fight? I don't think it'll be that many. I don't see GSP getting more than 2 or 3 takedowns in this fight. And to hold him down significantly, and really win rounds because of getting takedowns and having top position, I don't see that being. I don't see GSP doing that. I don't see him having success that way against Bisping. Bisping is a smart fighter. He's got good footwork. He's in and out. He'll be using his boxing. And GSP, Bisping said it best. I know he says a lot of stuff, but the one quote he made sense, and it's a good quote, and it's this is the biggest GSP we'll ever see in the octagon come November 4th, but this will be the smallest opponent I've ever faced. So it's very interesting, and GSP, he chose Bisping, so obviously he feels that he can beat him. Maybe, I don't know. I just see it being a very tough fight for GSP, and I'd love to see him win, but I got to go with Michael Bisping winning this fight, and it could very well be a stoppage. It very well could be a stoppage, but I do think that I do think that GSP will survive. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say that Bisping wins Bisping wins a unanimous decision. I gotta say unanimous for Bisping. And I'm saying it'll be a decision, but it very well could be a stoppage. I truly do believe that. Bisping is a very underrated fighter. People don't give him the respect he deserves. So, in a way, I know he's an arrogant prick sometimes, but I kind of hope he goes out and does it, and gets another legend on his resume. I know Silva's old and GSP's old, but Bisping's old too. So, it is what it is. But that's it for this one. If you liked the video, subscribe. Check me out on Twitter at MMABoxingTalk1. That's it for this one. Peace.